When a woman talks about her husband to you, it's almost never random. And no, it's not always what you think. Sometimes it's innocent. Sometimes it's strategic. Sometimes it's subconscious. And sometimes it's a test you don't even realize you're taking. So let's unpack it like grown men, not fantasy-driven teenagers. You ever have that moment? You're talking to her, it's light, easy, flowing. Then out of nowhere, she says, "My husband actually loves that movie," or "My husband works crazy hours too," or the classic, "My husband would never try that." And now your brain short circuits. Why bring him up? Why now? Why to me? Here's the first truth. Sometimes she mentions him to establish boundaries. That's it. Simple. She's communicating this is friendly, not flirty, not secretive, just safe. A lot of married women mention their husbands early to remove ambiguity, especially in American culture where friendliness can easily be misread. It's a subtle way of saying, let's keep this clean. If that's the tone, relaxed, neutral, consistent, don't overthink it. You're not in a romantic movie, you're just in a conversation. But now let's talk about the other times, the ones that feel different. She doesn't just mention him. She elaborates, she sighs, she compares, she complains. That's when things get interesting. When a woman repeatedly talks about her husband's flaws to another man, she's not just venting, she's revealing something. Now, careful here. Venting doesn't automatically mean attraction, but it does mean emotional space is shifting. Because women don't emotionally undress in front of men they feel zero chemistry with. They just don't. If she's sharing frustrations with you specifically, and not in a group gossip way, that's a signal, not necessarily of desire, but of comfort. And comfort is the doorway to intimacy. Let's get deeper. Sometimes she talks about her husband to gauge you, your reaction, your values, your restraint. If she says, "He never plans dates anymore," and you respond with, "Well, if I were him," you just stepped into dangerous territory. But if you respond with something balanced, respectful, grounded, she clocks that. Women notice how you handle boundaries, especially married women. If you jump too fast into savior mode, it lowers respect. If you handle it maturely, it builds intrigue, because restraint feels powerful. Now here's something most men don't realize. Sometimes she talks about her husband because she's thinking about him more than you. Not everything revolves around attraction. If he's central in her life, he'll come up naturally, especially if she's loyal and invested. Men often interpret every mention as tension, but sometimes it's just reality. You're talking to someone whose life includes another person. Of course he'll appear in the conversation. Don't create drama where there isn't any. The scenario you're really curious about. When she brings him up, but the energy feels charged. She says things like, "He doesn't really understand me," or "We've kind of grown apart," or the classic soft launch of emotional dissatisfaction. Marriage changes things. That's not random commentary. That's emotional disclosure. And emotional disclosure builds connection. Here's the thing about American culture specifically. A lot of marriages look stable on the outside. House, kids, vacation photos. But emotionally, sometimes there's distance. If she's sharing that distance with you repeatedly, you're not just a guy, you're becoming a sounding board. And that's how emotional affairs begin, not with flirting, with understanding. Let's be honest though, some women talk about their husbands because they enjoy subtle power, mentioning him while holding eye contact, talking about him while laughing a little too warmly with you. It creates tension. It says, there's a boundary, but I'm aware of you. That tension can feel intoxicating for both people, but tension doesn't mean intention. Sometimes it's just validation. She likes knowing she still has pull, and talking about her husband while another man listens gives her contrast. Contrast is powerful. It reminds her she's desired, even if she never plans to act on it. Here's another angle. Sometimes she talks about him because she's loyal, and loyalty means transparency. If she feels chemistry, mentioning him reinforces her commitment internally. It's like reminding herself of the boundary, not you, herself. People do that more than you think, especially if they feel something they shouldn't. Bringing him up keeps the line visible. Now let's flip it. Why do some men react so strongly when she mentions her husband? Ego. It interrupts fantasy. The brain was building a narrative, then reality shows up wearing a wedding ring, and suddenly the vibe feels complicated. But here's mature energy. If she talks about her husband calmly and respectfully, and you stay grounded, you win, not her. You win internally, because self-control is rare, and rare energy stands out. If she mentions him once, normal. If she mentions him occasionally, also normal. If she mentions him constantly but negatively, that's emotional displacement. She's processing her relationship through you, and that's a slippery slope, because once you become the emotional safe space, comparison starts forming, and comparison is dangerous in marriage, for her, for you, for everyone involved. Now here's the real truth. When a married woman talks about her husband to you, the meaning depends on tone. Tone tells everything. Is it neutral, respectful, distant, frustrated, playful, resentful? You have to listen beyond the words, because words are surface. Energy is signal. If the energy is flat, it's informational. If the energy is heavy, it's emotional. If the energy is flirtatious, it's tension. Three completely different situations, same sentence structure, different psychology. Let's get practical. If she talks about her husband, don't insult him. Don't compete with him. Don't try to outshine him. And don't encourage disrespect. That always backfires long term, even if she laughs in the moment. A woman who sees you disrespect another man's marriage subconsciously questions your character, even if she's unhappy. Integrity is attractive, especially in messy situations. And here's something powerful. If she talks about her husband and you respond with calm confidence, not insecurity, not eagerness, she'll feel that. Most men either freeze or overcompensate. Very few just stay steady. Steady feels strong. Strong feels rare. Rare feels magnetic, even if nothing romantic ever happens. Now let's address the uncomfortable possibility. Sometimes she talks about her husband because she wants you to know she's taken, but still wants your attention. That dual signal creates tension. It says, I'm unavailable, but I enjoy this. Human beings are complicated. Desire doesn't disappear because commitment exists, but acting on desire is a choice, and mature adults manage that tension without blowing up lives. So what's the real answer? When she talks about her husband to you, it could mean she's setting boundaries, she's venting, she's testing you, she's loyal, she's dissatisfied, she's comfortable, she's attracted, or she's just talking about her life. Context decides everything. Tone decides more. Your response decides the rest. Here's the mindset shift. Don't treat every married woman as a puzzle to decode. Treat her as a person. If she's happy and mentioning him proudly, respect it. If she's struggling and opening up, be careful. If there's tension, maintain integrity. Because nothing reveals your character faster than how you handle someone else's commitment. And long-term, character always outlasts chemistry. Always.